Hello and welcome. Today, we're diving into one of the biggest and, let's be honest, most intimidating questions out there. What is my purpose? It's a journey that can feel totally overwhelming, but don't worry, we're going to break it down with a really practical guide.
So, this question, right? What is my life purpose? It's a classic. I mean, pretty much every single one of us has wrestled with this, whether you're just starting out in your late teens or you're in your 40s or 50s looking back and wondering, did I make the right call? It feels like this huge cosmic riddle that we're all supposed to magically solve.
But here's a thought, and it's a bit of a radical one. What if that's completely the wrong question to be asking? Seriously, what if this whole idea of a single, grand life purpose is actually setting us up to fail? It makes it sound like there's one secret mission out there for us, and if we don't find it, we've kind of missed the point of our entire lives. That's a lot of pressure.
So, let's try a reframe. Let's throw out what is my life purpose and ask something way more useful. What can I do with my time that is important? Now, you can feel the difference, right? One is cosmic and just intimidating. It leads to you just sitting and thinking forever. The other is personal, it's flexible, and it's actually actionable. It's about getting out there and discovering things. This little shift in perspective, it's a total game changer.
Okay, so let's get into it. Before we can figure out what's important to us out there in the world, we kind of need a map of our inner world first. We have to understand the landscape of our own minds. And for that, there's no better guide than the work of the psychologist Carl Jung.
First up on our map is something Jung called the persona. Just think of this as your public face, right? It's the version of you that you show to your colleagues, at parties, even to some of your friends. It's that polite, professional, everything's fine mask we all wear to fit in and get along in society. And look, it's a necessary tool, but it is definitely not the whole you.
And now for the other side of the coin, the shadow. This is where all the stuff you've pushed down and hidden away lives. You know, your secret desires, your frustrations, the character traits you find embarrassing or unacceptable. Now, the shadow isn't necessarily evil or bad. It's just the parts of you that you don't want to admit are there. But here's the kicker. They are part of you. And if you ignore the shadow, you're basically trying to navigate your life with only half a map.
So, what's the point of exploring all this inner stuff? Well, Jung called the goal individuation. It's this lifelong process of bringing your conscious self, your persona, and your unconscious self, your shadow, together. The goal isn't to become some perfect person. No way. The goal is to become whole. It's about finally acknowledging and owning all the pieces of yourself so you can become who you truly are. All right, so we've got our map from Jung. Now we need some tools to actually go exploring with. And for this, we're going to turn to the author Mark Manson, who came up with some brilliantly strange questions that are designed to force us to be brutally, and I mean brutally honest with ourselves.
Let's just dive right in with the famous one. What's your favorite flavor of shit sandwich? I know, but it's not just for shock value, I promise. This question cuts right to the chase by asking, what struggle, what pain are you willing to put up with? Because let's be real, every single path in life, even the ones that look super glamorous, comes with its own unique set of problems, its own shit sandwich.
Like Manson says, everything sucks some of the time. The key insight here is that the type of suck you're willing to endure is actually your competitive advantage. You want to be a successful artist? You better be okay with rejection and financial uncertainty. The pain you can handle is what determines what you can achieve. Facing this question is how you start to really get to know your shadow.
Okay, next tool for our journey. How can you better embarrass yourself? This one is designed to go right after our persona, that social mask we're so careful to maintain. Just think about it for a second. The things you're most afraid of trying, the ideas you dream about but never do because you're worried what people will think, well, those fears often point directly to what's truly important to you.
And that really gets at a fundamental truth, doesn't it? Genuinely great things are almost always unconventional. And to do something unconventional, you absolutely have to risk looking foolish to other people. Learning to embrace that potential embarrassment is how you break away from the crowd to find a path that's actually yours. Oof, this one can be tough. I want you to really think about this. What's true about you today that would just make your 8-year-old self cry? Think back to when you were a kid. What did you love to do just because it was fun? Before anyone ever told you that you had to be good at it or that you couldn't make money from it? This question is all about finding those lost passions that adulthood and social pressure kind of squeezed out of us.
And this leads us to a really simple practical plan. First, just remember, what was it you loved?
Was it drawing, building forts, writing stories? Second, realize why you stopped. Did someone make a comment? Did you decide it wasn't practical? And third, the most important step, revisit it. Just try it again. Not to become a professional, not to make money, but just to feel that spark of joy again. That's where the real stuff, the real passion, begins.
Okay, we've done a ton of inner work so far. We've looked at our mental map, we've asked ourselves some really hard questions. Now it's time to take all that self-knowledge and connect it to the world around us. It's time to find meaning, not just inside ourselves, but outside of ourselves too.
This is maybe the ultimate tool for clarity. If you knew for a fact that you were going to die 1 year from today, what would you do? And what would you immediately stop doing? Thinking about our own mortality is powerful because it cuts through all the noise, all the trivial stuff we worry about every day. It forces you to focus on what truly, deeply matters. The answers to this question, they are your North Star.
This incredible idea comes from Viktor Frankl, a psychiatrist who survived the horrors of the Holocaust. He wrote a book about his experience called Man's Search for Meaning, or Deuxième Leçon. And what Frankl discovered, even in the most terrible circumstances imaginable, is that the primary driver for human beings isn't pleasure or happiness, it's meaning. And he argued that we find that meaning not by looking inward for personal satisfaction, but by dedicating ourselves to something outside of ourselves.
And this is where it all comes together. That self-knowledge you gained from exploring your persona and your shadow, from asking those tough questions, now you know what to do with it. The final step is to find a problem out there in the world that you genuinely care about and just start helping. It doesn't have to be some huge world-saving thing. When you start contributing to something bigger than your own satisfaction, that's the moment when what just felt important truly becomes a real living purpose.
So if there's one thing to take away from all this, it's that finding your purpose isn't some passive thing you think your way into. It's an active process of discovery. It's about knowing yourself, facing what's hard, and then choosing to act in a way that makes a difference, no matter how small. It all begins with a single, small action. So the only real question left is, now that you've looked inward, what's your first step outward going to be?